Hey, what's going on, folks? Doing something a little bit different today, changing things up. Always got to stay moving. Hee-ha! Hoo-ha! Um, you know, um, cool little anecdote. My father-in-law, way back in the day, in I don't know, probably late '60s, early '70s. Probably, I think this was Syracuse. Not sure. Gary Snyder comes to give a reading. My father-in-law and his friend attend this poetry reading with this, still quite a luminary, um, you know, um, kind of basking in beat glory at the time, but also really accumulating a lot of accolades. The great Gary Snyder gives this reading, and afterwards, my father-in-law and his buddy work up the courage and walk over to Gary Snyder and say, hey, Gary, it's a great reading. How's it going? Gary's like, great. How's it going, guys? You want a book to sign or whatever? Like, well, why don't you come over for dinner, Gary? Why don't you have dinner with us? And Gary Snyder looks at these two ragged ass kids, and is like, okay, what are we having for dinner? And they're like, well, they look at one another. We have some bread. So let's dive right into it, folks. After that little Gary Snyder anecdote, um, we're going to look at this Discord competition. Shout out to Gerardo and to Grace over at the Reddit OC Poetry Discord, doing all the work behind the scenes to put this together. Grace came up with this prompt. Some days are for the crows, and we got a lot of responses, which is just tremendous. They asked me if I'd be willing to participate in the judging, and I was absolutely thrilled because this is exactly the type of stuff I love to do. So hugely honored, hugely flattered. Thanks for this opportunity, guys. So I'm just going to pass on kind of my take on a top three, and then nominate what I think would be my choice for winner. And the final decision making is kind of above my pay grade, and those folks on the Discord, they can work that out themselves, how they want to hand out those accolades. But for you guys tuning into the channel, you can see what I thought and how I react, and who I would choose as a winner. So let's start with this: ways of looking at a crow. Let's just dive right in here. One, a day for the thirsty crows that swarm the faces of men who wrong them. Each ruffled feather is a promise. So I like that first line quite a bit. A very good proposal there. A day for the thirsty. And see how that enjambment into crows. It's kind of ha-ha, like thirsty is kind of slang with kids today. So it's clever, but it's effective. The thirst of people, and kind of projecting that or putting that onto the crows is interesting. Crows that swarm. The swarm is, again, a very active verb there. So again, we're pushing this kind of heavily mobile form of poetry with these short lines that's verb intensive. The faces of men who wrong them. This, to me, I think is perhaps a little bit less exciting. It's hard to understand. Literally swarming crows is not something I've seen very often. So I guess I'm losing a little bit of a step here. You see crows circling quite a bit, huge numbers of crows circling trees or dumps or whatever. So it's now it's kind of this metaphysical, so you can't exactly literally picture what's happening. And that's kind of tough for me a little bit. But this little vignette, fortunately, is kind of almost over, so it gives us an opportunity to then kind of refresh, take a drink, and hit things from another angle. Each ruffled feather is a promise. See that is there. I think this is suboptimal. It's sort of lying flat here. Promise for what? Promise for vengeance? I mean, is this like Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds? So those types of tropes that end up populating my imagination are a little bit unsatisfying. And we can see in stanza 2 here, we're going to really double down on some of these tropes. Each crow's beady eyes. So this is really what I'd call kind of shop worn, and kind of a little bit boring, describing crow's eyes as beady. I just don't think we can do that today and have something fresh. But nevertheless, this is going to pivot into something a little bit more interesting. Eyes calculate. That calculate verb is very well selected. So great work there. How many pebbles needed to take a draft? So that's really interesting that they're doing this kind of mathematics or calculation. It really it gives us this sense of reasoning and planning and it really elevates the tension of the poem having this calculation. It's still kind of along these same lines of kind of revenge or resentment, which to me is a little bit dull, but. And that really, we're going to go into 3 and really go more. The bitter drink fills the hollow bones of the crow. So it's an interesting study how we keep returning to this refresh. We kind of, with each break we refresh, but we're still returning to these tropes, these things that have already been explored and already been said. So the execution here, I think, is pretty game, especially how tight these lines are. Again, I feel like an adjective like bitter, and this other adjective beady. These are a little bit boring to me. But sonically, Arlie, the bitter drink fills the hollow bones of the crow. See the good use of assonance here with bitter and drink and fills, and then we go to the assonance with the open o sounds, the hollow bones, the crow. So this is clearly someone who's an experienced poet. This isn't their first rodeo, so I can see why. You can see why I put it in my finalist list here. Okay, let's have a look at Black Feathered Knight. That's our next contender. I wish to wrap today up in gold leaf. That's just a really, really interesting opening, isn't it? And trick that old flying bastard to take it when he leaves. My gosh, this is just a championship opening from this poet. Oh my gosh. This is like a service winner at Wimbledon. The ball comes up, this nice toss. I wish to wrap today up in gold leaf. And we know that's not going to work, right? When you try to wrap things up in gold leaf, what does Frost say? Only gold can stay, and trick that old flying bastard. There's a huge pivot there going into that flying bastard. And again, this is this really fresh take on these tropes. So we have this speaker who is vitripulative, who's kind of venting invective here, and that's just really, really fascinating. It's really, really colorful, and kind of it almost seems to the speaker is kind of becoming a crow themselves in this way. Maybe the speaker is a crow, so that's a definite possibility that the speaker of the poem is in fact a crow. Time plucks the good days from my hands like they're shiny things for their nest. So I don't think the speaker's a crow. The shiny things, I think, is a big mistake here. So again, that's kind of boring, shop-worn language. It's been said before. Now these poets didn't have a lot of time to write these things, right? So the prompt came, and they had to turn this around pretty quickly. So huge props, mad props to these poets for putting themselves out there. And I don't want to dunk on anyone here. Again, I mean, this opening is 10 of 10. I mean, this is just true, bringing their A game to this match here. So absolutely publication quality. This is the type of thing I would hope to find in a high-quality literary magazine. And I would be disappointed when I don't, but sometimes you don't. But if I did, I would be happy, very, very happy. So fantastic. Time plucks the good days from my hands like they're shiny things from their nest. It never swoops. So this swoops verb again. It's not really artfully selected. We've heard of crows swooping and birds swooping down. For the worst of it, it stays in the air and gives me a series of raspy caws like an old man laughing at the youthful sky as they struggle on. This is a little bit good here. This is a return to form, like an old man laughing at the youthful as they struggle on. I think the youthful here is a little bit of a stumble, but still we have this kind of crow-like form. We can imagine almost a crow-like form of this older man, kind of hunched over a little bit. But the poem doesn't have to describe that. That image is kind of just given to us, just popping into our brain spontaneously. So it's more of a kind of a psychic suggestion type of thing. So that's really, really nice. So again, a lot of really, really interesting stuff. Let's just look at the ending here. Let the day stay, black-feathered night, or else I'll desire the worst for you to take me up with you into that dark, sorrowful sky. So I think this is a reach. This is too much. But the attempt at packaging and bringing things to a natural, organic closure is commendable. So with some tuning, you could go from this to a very successful piece. So well done. Well done. Okay, let's look at today. Why is it death? It's a bold opening. Let's see if so it's a bold opening, but bold doesn't always mean wise, right? So it's a bold opening, but it might leave you exposed to getting slammed if you can't deliver on that opening. Why is it death when black wings flap? I don't know, when black wings flap. Okay, you better deliver. The flap is this. You see that A sound there is almost funny sounding. It's comic. It definitely is not effectively underscoring this first line very effectively, because it really, that app sound, app, really kind of undercuts this question. In my opinion, I see but joy, joyful birds. Wow, that's a huge, huge turn. So surprising. And the rhetorical action here, this question posed and then answered in this way, question posed and then answered completely satisfied. Why is it death when black wings flap? I see but joy, joyful birds. So this is a complete inversion of all of the tropes all these other poets tried to bring, all these other baggage that they brought. This poem turns it all on its head from this first stanza. Extremely creative. Wow. Very nice. Do not fly away. So it's almost childlike simplicity to this line. Do not fly away. It's like a 5-year-old talking. Take your spots and peck, peckish birds. So I'm not sure about the spots. Like, crows don't have spots. And do they mean like where crows alight? They're where they choose to land? Their perch, maybe, is the word that the poet was looking for and did not find. Instead, we have the spots, which is a missed spot. The peckish is peckish birds is kind of funny. I think how short the line is and how simple the diction and syntax, how childlike the language is, really is adding to my enjoyment. Perversely, because, I think there's a lot of issues with this poem thus far. There is no misfortune in hearing forevermore. Look at the how these two words, misfortune and forevermore. There's this. It's not quite like a pun, but a lot of the different syllables echo one another in these kind of loose near rhyme type of ways. That's really complicated and really provocative, really discomforting as well. It feels like what drugs was this poet on to come up with this craziness? But that's really interesting, right? There's no misfortune in hearing from forevermore. So that's an Edgar Allan Poe reference. Listen to the crows. Another exclamation mark. Usually I hate exclamation marks in poems, but I really get this Blakean feeling to this poem, which I'm really starting to groove with. There is no misfortune in hearing forevermore. Listen to the crows. They talk and talk. Again, repeated words oftentimes doesn't work with me, but the simplicity of the diction, how disciplined this poem is in staying with this childlike diction is really, really impressive to me. And it's very emphatic. It has this childlike perspective and imagination that the crows are beautiful and that the crows are joyful. So let's see where they go and where they pivot in this last stanza. Reimagine the graveyard thief. So it's asking us to reimagine. I'm not sure if we can, but crows are carrion creatures. It is happy. So that's a big craft error, because a gravedigger has to be a he or her or they. It can't be an it. And the crow could be, I suppose this could be the crow is the graveyard thief. But crows usually aren't robbing graveyards. They're kind of robbing roadsides, folks. So this is a little bit of an oof. The smartest among us all today is for them. So I would choose a different, superlative than smartest. But, again, these poets are writing under a lot of time pressure, and they're writing according to someone else's prompt. So this is very awkward, very, filled with kind of technical flaws as a poem. But I think by turning the whole conceit on its head, it allows us to do something vitally important. One of poetry's core functions is allow us to see the world anew, to see the world as children would see it. And this Blakean impulse in this poem, the way Blake writes this poem, The Fly, which you guys should go and read, from this childlike innocence, is extremely important function. It's extremely important service that poetry offers, that this poet, maybe they need to work on some tools and techniques here and there, but they're trying to offer us a service as a way to see the world in a different way. That even the graveyard thief or the carrion-eating crow experience this kind of joy. It reminds me, there's this Chinese philosopher, who talks about the fish's pleasure. He's this Taoist philosopher. That's Zhuangzi, who has that this argument with this sophist, basically, where he's talking about these pleasures, the pleasure of the fishes, and the sophist is trying to say that he doesn't know the pleasure of the fishes, and Zhuangzi is basically giving this very kind of contradictory but beautiful sentiment, that some things are essentially emanate from themselves and are tautologically true. that these fishes are experiencing, or fish have pleasure as they swim down this river. And there's something about this poem that convinces me along similar lines of the tautological truth of why do we associate crows with death? Why should that be necessary? And then more, I guess that it's slightly conventional to say that, but why is death itself bad? Why is that bad? And, if crows are indeed associated with that. So I think we take all this stuff together and you have this very, very ambitious poem. So I gotta give the nod to today here, and say that this is my selection. I guess we'd say second place goes to Black Feathered Knight for just this A++ opening, and third place, I'll put in third Ways of Looking at a Crow, and yeah, I also on the Discord I offered my winner a beverage. Happy to PayPal you a beverage worth, to the author of today. Just comment on the video below, and I'll reach out and make it right. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, thank you to the Discord for giving me this opportunity. Much appreciated, and we'll talk soon, everyone.